state. And her own children, they would get all kind of the benefit. But the children of the female who was born in the family or who was born in the state would lose all her right, which which were given to her. They were the inherent right actually, but maybe in the pretext of saving the autonomy of the state, they wanted that the outsider should not penetrate into the territory of the state. But it was not true when outside the lady would come into the family in the form of the bahu of the family, and she would get the PCR. So this was one thing which was very derogatory and very discriminatory, and it was legalized only because we had 370, which protects the statehood, which protects the special status, and we can have the laws at our own.
And present a sapling to Professor Manju Jamwal as a token of gratitude and appreciation. Come forward and brief us about the ICSSR sponsored project titled Constitutional Reforms and Marginalized Growth, a socio-legal analysis in reorganized Jammu and Kashmir, of which the workshop is an integral part. We look forward to his valuable insights and reflections.
Good morning to everybody present here, and I especially facilitate the experts who have come to this. I will not be giving the brief of the experts because that will be covered in the special session we are taking, so that is a surprise for you also. Friends, two particular articles of the Indian Constitution which caught my attention as students of law. You should be bothered about simple articles, Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, which says that the state shall not deprive any person equality before law or equal protection of laws. And another was Article 21 of the Constitution, which said that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to a procedure established by law. These were the two articles which caught our attention, and we gave a proposal to the ICSSR for a project way back 5 or 6 years ago. That was impact of Kashmir conflicts on refugees, post-migrant and displaced populations. Because after 1947 and then when we achieved independence, and when there was an Article 370 here, and people who were coming from Punjab going to settle either in J&K or in Punjab or in other states, and also the later conflicts which led to the formation of POJK. There's a wide gap between the rhetoric and reality. Rhetorically speaking, all the laws which were applicable in the center would be immediately applicable to the people who are residing in the state of J&K. Right? But there was a wide gap, wide chasm between the laws and the bureaucratic hurdles, so that the trickle-down approach was not visible. So that is why we picked up certain communities. We picked up number one, West Pak refugees. So I will not divulge into details because we have certain information which we are keeping close to our heart, and we will be presenting it to the ICSSR. So I want to listen from the persons who are experts in this particular field, who have spent almost last 30 to 40 years working in their own chosen area. So West Pakistan refugees was one group which were deprived for the last more than 7 decades. Then we had the people from POJK, Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir. That was the second area of marginalized groups. Third area which we chose was the Kashmiri migrants group. Consequent to their being forced to come to Jammu and settle in other parts of India, also they would suffer a amount of marginalizations. The fourth area which we chose was ST. Well, there was a further bifurcation of ST into ST1 and ST2, and our team also visited Rajouri, Poonch, we visited Kathua, we visited Udhampur, and we visited other parts of the state to know the first-hand experiences, and we had focus group discussions also, and we have those reports also, where there are bureaucratic hurdles and where the things are lacking despite these rights being given to these marginalized communities. Then we had the women also, about which our head of the department also spoke, and finally we had the SC community, out of which one which we have chosen was Valmiki community. You might have seen a short clip by that was justice delayed but delivered by Kamakya Narayan and spoke about Radhika Gill also. And fortunately, one of the students from the Valmiki community is also a law student in this department also. Her name is Meena Gill. So these were some of the areas. So we very carefully chose our objectives for this particular project. And this is a stakeholder workshop which we are conducting here, bringing experts from the marginalized communities and telling you their first-hand experience. So what was the basic objective? I just read the objectives and leave it to the first speaker who will properly introduce the first speaker. One was to evaluate the legal implications of abrogation of Article 370, which will cover post-lunch session, and the subsequent reorganization of Jammu and Kashmir under J&K Reorganization Act 2019, on the legal status, rights and protection of marginalized groups, including women, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, displaced population, and Valmiki community. That was the first objective of this particular project. Number two, to study the change in socio-economic conditions of marginalized groups post-reorganization. So we are not only talking about pre-reorganization, we are talking about post-reorganization, especially focusing on access to justice. See, I talked about Article 14. I talked about Article 21, deprivation. So, deprivation can be met only when we give them access to certain advantages. So, access to education, access to employment, access to opportunities, access to property ownership, access to political representation, and to analyze how these changes have impacted their social mobility, economic empowerment, and overall quality of life. Because we have to bring them at a level playing field from the have-nots and have, there's a wide gap, to bring them at a level playing field. That was the first objective of this particular workshop. Second was to investigate human rights concerns faced by marginalized communities in Jammu and Kashmir in the wake of constitutional reforms, examining incidents of discrimination, social exclusion, access to justice, and the effectiveness of legal protections for these communities in a newly reorganized setup in reorganized Jammu and Kashmir. And third was to develop legal and policy recommendations aiming at improving the living conditions and social integration of marginalized groups in Jammu and Kashmir. So this just arose from an idea of Article 14, Article 21 read together in the backdrop of human rights patient. Well, we always say that human rights are those rights which are absolutely essential for the survival, existence and prosperity development of human beings. These rights are inherent, inalienable and universal, and despite that, for the last more than 7 decades, they were socially excluded. So listen to the voices of these socially excluded communities, listen to the voices of these marginalized groups. This stakeholder workshop was called, and this was a brief idea of this. We have conducted a survey, we have done focus group discussions, we have done stakeholder workshops also, and we are doing other experiments also to bring out the anomalies which have hitherto been left and give certain legal and policy recommendations. So with these words, I once again welcome the experts who have come from the marginalized groups. Give them a big round of applause. And my link between you and the experts from each community to tell you the tale, to listen to the policy recommendations, because this will be very essential for you to evolve further, because you are law students and you are going to be the academicians, you are going to be into litigation, and you are going to raise your voice as a parliamentarian, a member of the legislative assembly. So this is very essential for you to understand what are the inequities which have crept into the Indian civil society. With these words, once again I thank you. Thank you so much.